Welcome to You Could Do Better with Annie and Shelby, the podcast that aims to inspire while keeping it real. We are going to change your life, but only a little.
You're so much better than I could hope to be. Yeah, and yes, I think it's better.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Welcome.
We've been talking about doing this for probably about a year now. Annie and I both listen to a lot of podcasts. We get a lot from them. And as we talk to people, sometimes we're asked for advice or insight, and we often think, sure, it'd be nice if we wrote this down somewhere so we could refer people to some of the things we talked about. And I guess this is our effort to do just that. So hang on for the ride. We're going to have a good time here.
Yeah, so we have broken our podcast down into 3 glorious segments. So segment 1 is titled Create, where Shelby will really take the lead. He'll offer motivation, strategy, and productivity advice for any projects that you might be pursuing and just life in general, because honestly, that is what Shelby is best at.
Well, you're nice. I hope it's useful to people. If that's not really your bag and you're really here to hear the banter between me and Annie, that's cool. You can jump to probably about the 3-minute mark on most episodes, and we'll jump right into segment 2, which we have titled Relate. In Relate, Annie and I will discuss together some thoughts about getting along in relationships. It's what Annie is best at. Most of you listening are probably here because you know Annie and she's wonderful. So we'll talk about all types of relationships, friendships, working relationships, etc. But most of our talk will probably be about romantic relationships because that's what we know best. We've been in one for 16 years now and still get along really well.
Yeah, we do. So our third segment is called Innovate, where we are going to interview people who inspire us. I have to say I'm actually looking the most forward to this segment because we know some really amazing, incredible people who are doing creative things, who are solving problems in really neat ways, who are thinking outside of the box, or who are just really making their little corner of the world better.
So if you have great ideas of people that you would like to hear from, people you'd like us to interview, topics you'd like us to discuss, you can send us a line at thedobetterpodcast@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to field those. We'll repeat that information at the end of the episode as well.
If you hear someone replying to your email, it will probably be Shelby because that's what he does.
True.
So, without further ado, here's our first Create segment from Shelby.
I'm all about that. All about that. It's a common expression, but what does it mean to be all about something? And are you? Let's start high level. Who are you? No, really, who are you? And what do you do? At work, I get asked these questions all the time. My job is difficult to describe, so I often say, I make things here work better. And people chuckle because they want to hear my title and know who reports to me and how I fit into the organization, but I think they've got it all wrong. In another context, say my family, I might answer those same questions. I'm the dad, and I parent my kids. But the world is filled with fathers who parent their kids. That answer doesn't really tell you very much at all. A better answer would be, I'm the dad, and I try to teach my kids to be good people by modeling responsibility and freely giving them my love. Do you see the difference? Who you are is not what you do, but how you do it. And how you do things is what you're all about. It's the common thread that ties together who you are as a worker, as a friend, as a lover, a teammate, a driver on the freeway, or a shopper in the grocery store. It's the essence of you. So what are you all about? If you were to distill yourself down, what's the common thread? Are you dutiful? Engaging? Critical? Inquisitive? Driven? Dismissive? Think about the answer. Ask yourself if that's what you want to be. Because if it is, you've just defined the life's mission you didn't even know you had. Congratulations! Now, if you don't like it, you should probably change it. How you go about that is a bigger question for another day. But as Kevin Noel said, if you don't make the time to work on creating the life you want, you're eventually going to be forced to spend a lot of time dealing with a life you don't. It took me a long time to realize it, but my life's work is finding ways to make things work better. Finding efficiencies in processes, lifting spirits to help people produce their best work, getting people to collaborate and innovate. My value to my company is less in the tasks I perform and more in the way I approach them. My value to my family is less about what I do and more about the tone and energy with which I go about it. I've summed it up in 6 words, a mantra I repeat to myself as I approach each new day. Make something a little better today. That's my mission, and I'm all about it. What are you all about?
Shelby, do you know what I'm all about?
What are you all about?
That bass. No treble. Okay, so for our Relate segment today, we are going to talk about speaking the same language. So fortunately, Shelby and I are both native English speakers.
It's really, really useful in a relationship.
It is. I did try to learn Tagalog in the early parts of our marriage, because Shelby also speaks Tagalog. But the only thing I learned how to say was halika mo na ako, which means kiss me now. And after that, it didn't seem that I needed really anything else. So the kind of languages that we wanted to talk about today are love languages. So Shelby and I are pretty awesome at actually just at the very base, just loving each other, which is great. But it turns out that Shelby receives love differently than I receive love. And so it was kind of fun in the beginning where we were trying to figure that out. For example, for Shelby's first birthday, I was very excited. I filled his entire day with fun things. We were in Vermont at the time. I made him this big breakfast. I took him to a tour of the Ben & Jerry's factory where I used to work. And then I took him out for a horse-drawn sleigh ride at the Von Trapp Family Lodge, and followed it up with a really nice dinner out where the culinary school was, and really filled the day. And then do you remember what I got you for a present? Do you remember what I bought you?
I don't remember.
Clothing. It's because you've blacked it out of your memory. It was such a bad idea. So I got you clothing. So I basically got him... I gave his whole birthday was basically what I would totally love for my birthday. Do you remember what you got me for my first birthday?
I do. I got you a CD.
Yeah.
I got you a couple of books. And I gave you a lot of personal space.
Which I was like, does he even know that it's my birthday?
And for me, I was giving the most heartfelt things that I could. And that's really what the languages of love are about. Now, to give credit, this is not a new topic for us. There's a whole book, and there's people, they have copyrights on all this stuff. I'm not stealing their content, but we're giving you our perspective on what receiving and giving in languages of love really means. We realized early on that we were both trying to give each other gifts that were what we wanted, but in the other person's theme. So I would give her CDs and books because that's what I wanted for presents and personal space, but they would be Billy Joel CDs instead of the groups I listened to, or books that I thought she liked. And she was, meanwhile, planning things for me that she thought I would like this is a men's shirt, but it's still a shirt, right? So the language of love is Annie's, but the theme is men's clothing, which is me.
Right.
And this is, I think, a hard thing for most couples that early on are figuring out how to express love to one another, because you don't realize going into a relationship that you have a love language.
Right.
It's so native to you that you don't realize that there are different things out there. So if you show love in physical ways, you want a lot of affection. And so you're always, grabbing your partner and holding them tight and holding hands and kissing and that sort of thing. The other person might be a little bit averse to that sort of thing.
Right. So it's really tricky. It actually involves a lot of conversations. Some of them are easy and some of them are harder about how that person receives love. So when Shelby's giving me books and CDs, I can see that he loves me. Like, that is awesome, So, because you don't want to hurt your partner's feelings and be like, dude, why did you give me books and CDs? Like,
where's the clothing and the surprise party?
Where are all my friends, Shelby? But what have we learned? We've learned some cool tricks. So I can say, Shelby, I am so, I love this book. I love these CDs, and then throughout time, when things happen where we do get together with all of our friends, or I could be like, Shelb, I loved when we got together with our friends. You know what? For my birthday one year, I would love it if we would get 4 different couples will go out for dinner, or I not so subtly hint boy, I sure would love a surprise party. What a surprise that would be. I try not to be like too super needy. But Shelby just happens to be the kind of person who really likes input on that kind of a thing. Would you say?
Yeah, well, I need you to be I need you to beat me over the head with it so that I understand the message. You understand the subtlety more, and you've learned to figure out what's meaningful to me.
But the trick is don't I do a good job in making sure that you know that I really actually do love and appreciate every gift you give to me.
Absolutely, and I think that's the two sides of languages of love that are really important. I'm going to teach you a big word, listeners, because that's what I do. I'm hyperlexical and I use big words. I just taught you the first one, which was hyperlexical. The second big word I'm going to teach you is solipsism, which is it's a philosophy. The only thing you can know in the world is yourself. Or in other words, everything that you perceive has to go through this filter of your own brain. And so it's really hard to know the outside world because you're always filtering it through what you know and feel. Right. And recognizing that is, knowing is half the battle. So that's the first step to moving forward in both expressing and receiving love. Because love languages isn't just about knowing what your partner wants and always giving them that. It's also about recognizing that when your partner gives you something in their own love language, they are expressing love. And if you don't realize that that's what they're expressing, you're going to just think, why do they keep giving me books and CDs?
I do enjoy reading.
Oh, yeah. And I enjoy getting together with people.
Right.
But over the years, we've gotten better at this.
Okay, so what's funny is after a while, as we've been getting better, I was talking to a friend, I was telling him about this the other night, that it was really funny because I kind of had to practice. So for like the following years, your birthday would come and I'd be like on your birthday, I would let you sleep in and I made you a nice breakfast, right? And then like throughout the day, I'd be like, by the way, this is me kind of ignoring you because I love you on your birthday. And I'd be like, guess what I'm not doing? I'm not throwing you a surprise party. I am not like taking you all over the city. Like I'm not doing these things. But that's because it was so foreign to me to be like, to show you love, I'm giving you lots of space because the way that I receive love is by having as little space as possible.
Right. So it's like there's a translator there.
Right.
You're being the translator between this language of love and that language of love.
So it was kind of like awkward in the beginning.
Learning any languages.
Yeah,
right?
It was like training wheels. Where now on your birthday, we've been together long enough where I'm just like, I love you and I'm leaving you alone. Happy birthday. Here's a present. It's some books and CDs.
And, when things come around for you, I say, we're going to go out to dinner. We have to make a stop at the high school first. And next thing you know, you've got 150 people in a flash mob.
Okay.
Because that's
right.
Your language of love. Okay. And I learned how to speak it. I'm much more fluent in your language of love than I ever thought I would be before.
I don't need a flash mob for like every birthday, but I have to say it was pretty magical that one time.
Well, sometimes you go big or you go home. Other times you just go home. So I think that the big takeaway messages for me about this are those two things I said earlier. Learning how to give what the other person wants.
Right.
Demonstrates commitment to your relationship. It demonstrates that you are listening to them, that you are understanding them, that you are giving as much as you can.
Well, also learning how to communicate what your wants are, because I think a huge mistake that people make is that they just expect that their partner is going to know what it is they want. So the trick is finding a way to communicate what you want, but doing it in the spirit of love, as like it's its own gift, really. So you don't expect someone to just know and then get mad at them later for not giving you what you like or what you need in a relationship, right? Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine.
But I have to say, that was really insightful.
That was really insightful. That's what this podcast is really all about. Honestly, I don't have anything else to say about languages of love that you haven't already covered.
Okay, awesome. So everyone out there, love each other well.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our third section, which is innovate.
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 Innovate. Innovate. Okay. All right, so for our third segment, Innovate, we are interviewing our dear, dear friend, Tyson Price. Now, Tyson is, you may have seen him around. He's a fantastic performer on stage, very versatile, very attractive, very talented. Yeah?
I think you.
And in his Muggle life, he is a third grade teacher in Salt Lake. So welcome, Tyson.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. You're a guinea pig for this segment. How are you feeling about it?
Nervous, but at least there's no bar yet.
Yeah.
So I'll set the bar.
Okay, so for this segment, we are picking people who inspire us, who are making a difference in their community, who are thinking outside the box or solving problems in creative ways, or otherwise just being pretty amazing, cool people that we know. So we thought you'd be a fantastic candidate to start with. Whether you like it or not, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
So we first want to kind of ask you about your classroom. Like, if anyone knows Tyson on social media, he occasionally posts really neat things about his classroom. Can you tell us about your theme and why you chose it, and kind of, what that's been like for you?
My theme is Harry Potter, and I've always had a love for Harry Potter. When I was in 3rd grade and 4th grade, I hated reading myself, and it wasn't until I found Harry Potter that I found a love for reading and this love of escaping to another world where I can escape my troubles right now and go to another world and learn from them, and where they can learn from their mistakes or learn from their successes. And so that's one of my number one reasons why I brought it in, because it's a passion that I have. And recently, about a year ago, they released a new illustrated version of the book, of the first book. So I have that, and I read it to my kids, sometimes 10 minutes a day, sometimes 15, whenever I can just fit it in for a few minutes. And we go through it and we read it. And a lot of them have seen some of the movies here and there, but a lot of them don't know the full story. So we'll start reading it and talking about it. But and I tell them that it is my favorite story and my favorite book, and how it found that place in my life where I could learn to love reading. And so I challenge them, even if they don't like Harry Potter, to find a book or a genre or something in a series that captivates them and pulls them and takes them to that world where they can be somebody else for a little while, or see themselves in somebody else, because a lot of people like to identify with other people or to see other things in a different way. So one thing that I do is I make it fun, of course. We'll make little wands halfway through the year, and I pretend like I'm Ollivander, and I put them into little houses, into all the different 4 houses, and they sit at their tables. And there's an app called Class Dojo where you can give points to students. And
Yeah, my kids are on. We have Class Dojo. Yeah.
So I'll give them points, and I'll be like, 1 point for Gryffindor.
Do you do the voice?
I do.
Yeah.
It's not very good.
I don't know why I asked.
And when I read the book, I try to do the accent, but Hagrid's accent always turns into a southern accent just because his dialect is somewhat different. So I always have to kind of just read that straightforward, and then I can try my...
No, wait. Are you Spanish immersion too?
Yeah.
So it's Spanish southern accent.
Yes.
Oh.
But
I wish I was in your class.
I teach on the English side, so I actually
okay.
have 2 classes of about 25 students each.
Okay.
A lot of them are native Spanish speakers, and so I read it to them in English, and my teaching partner, she also reads it to them in Spanish.
Okay, cool.
So they're getting it in both languages, and so if they miss something,
awesome.
they have that second opportunity to... Studies have shown that when you supplement a child's primary language, they excel in learning a second language. And you can look at the scores from any dual immersion program, and they score at grade level with the other kids who are just learning English, or usually above.
Cool.
And that's the case with my students. Me and the other teachers, we do a lot of the same things, but just because of that, the higher level thinking that it requires to learn 2 languages, it really pushes them harder. So,
How have you seen some of your students respond to your reading challenges?
I've seen some of the kids take off on it, and one kid last year, he went and bought all the books, and he was having his parents read it to him, and he was Harry Potter for Halloween.
Aww.
And they all get into it, and I have my kids from last year, they come back to me all the time, and they ask me, are you still a Hufflepuff? Are you still a Hufflepuff? Or have you changed houses? And they still remember all those fun things that we did, like sorting them and the wands, and we made golden snitches one day with them.
Oh my gosh, my kids would love that. We need to move to Salt Lake.
So
And be in 3rd grade.
And be in third grade.
But one thing that I push them to do, because the books are very difficult for third graders, and I say to them that I know it might be hard for you to understand everything that's going on in the books, but as you get older and as your reading expands, come back to these books or keep reading these books so you can learn more, and some of the trials that he goes through that you can apply to your own life and life lessons that you can learn. For instance, in the first book, at the very end, when Ron, Harry, and Hermione are going out into the castle using the invisibility cloak, Neville Longbottom tries to stop them, and he's standing up, even though they're his friends. He's saying, "No, we're not allowed to do this."
Right.
He stands up in a difficult position and teaching them that sometimes we have to be that upstander and make hard choices even when we're standing alone. And I try to teach them that theme comes back a lot throughout this book, and then I talk to them and I show them the little clip of Malfoy calling Hermione a mudblood, and we talk about that, and we talk about how that is going on in our culture right now.
Right.
People discriminating because of differences, just because they're not made by one certain cookie cutter, that we have to call them out and make them less than us. So we talk about that and how we can be a community and help rise above that and be that upstander that really stands up for differences and accepting differences. And I talk about them in a way that sometimes we don't have to understand them, but we can still be nice to them and accept them as human beings, because we're not going to understand everything in our life or everything going on around us, but we need to stop and listen more, listen to their story, listen to what's going on around us, and stop being so quick to judge. And so I hope that even if it's just a few kids, that one day they go and they can connect to it, and they connect to the expecto patronum of driving out the dark with the light. It's something that I just hope that it reaches a few kids. You know, there's a million other things I do in my class that I hope reach them, but this is one that I hope that can reach them, because, you know, Harry Potter was an orphan child, and a lot of these kids also come from difficult backgrounds, so it's something that they can connect to in different ways, or see themselves in a different light, maybe.
I think that's really beautiful. I think we all actually should come to your class. I think a lot of adults, you know, would benefit from your classroom. I did want to ask one more question, which is, what do you feel like you have learned from your students?
When I came in, I was this white middle-class man and just bopping along doing my own thing, and I had culture shock when I went to my first school. That my school that I'm at is about 7 or 8% Caucasian, and there's over 20 languages, a variety of cultures and races, and there are a lot of things that have happened in my life, but that is one of the things I'm most grateful for, because it opened to my eyes to so many things that I didn't understand, and then I just blew off. And they've taught me lessons that people can only learn by being in those circumstances and hearing their stories. Where I had refugee students in my class, and a little girl one day sat there and told me the story about how she saw her father getting shot by the insurgents in Africa, and how that's affected her. But seeing her in this land of opportunity, coming and rising against all the odds, and she came in not speaking any English, but within a year was almost on grade level and reading, and how it wasn't just me teaching her, it was her resilience and her going through all her challenges and pushing herself to become better. And then every day my students come with stories of things going on in their life where they don't have food at home, or they don't get to see their parents because they're working multiple jobs. And a lot of stereotypes have been shattered for me, because I hear a lot of stereotypes that people are just here to reap the benefits of America and stuff like that. But as I sat and I listened to their stories, to me, one of my dear friends put it in a great way for me. She said, there's an imaginary line, and on one side there's a big pool of water that can give you life, and on the other side the water's tainted and poisoned. And as I sat there and listened to some of my students' family stories, they talked about how they were living in little huts with no water. They didn't have any opportunity for work, and they said they came here because they saw an opportunity for life, because there it was death. And
Wow.
so it shattered a lot of my stereotypes that I had, and people say they're lazy and that they don't do anything, but they're some of the hardest working people I know. They work multiple jobs, they're raising their families, and they're the most loving and giving people I've encountered. And it's not just one race or culture, it's all of them. They just want a place in this world, and I hope that we can work toward a place where we can accept them and really bring them that opportunity, because I think we all deserve a chance at life.
It's not like they're seeking for even a better life. They're seeking for life.
Yeah, and this past week with the new election, it was very difficult for them to come to school. We sat there and had a conversation. I said, we're not going to talk about who won. We're not going to talk about who lost. We need time to reflect upon our feelings. And so we went around the room and every kid expressed their fears. And so many of them broke down into tears and expressed fears of certain family members having to leave the country. A majority of my students have been born in the United States, but they have grandparents who haven't, or siblings who haven't, and they're very scared of their families being torn apart. And I sat there in tears that day, because here they are, these 7-year-olds going through things that I've never even imagined, and the emotional impact that's going to have on them for the rest of their life. And I wish there was a way that all of us could come together and just listen more. I know there's a lot of opinions out there of immigration, what they think, but I think what we all need to do is just stop and listen to each other more and find a way to work with each other, because it's becoming so much of, well, it's all about me and it's all about me. And I get we need to watch out for ourselves, but I think we also need to listen and reach our hand out to others more too.
Sounds like you've done a great job really making a safe space for your students to express those concerns and to feel heard. I think that's a great gift that you're giving them, and great modeling for what they can do for other people.
Yeah, if a student comes to school and that's on their mind and they haven't had time to process or go through it, they're not going to be interested in learning. They're not going to care what the theme of the story we're reading is. They don't care about the plot or the summary of the story. They're worried about their life and where they're going to be next week. And so we have to, I check in with, every day I've been checking in with them and just saying, remember, I'm a safe person to talk to. And I just said, I will fight for you in whatever way I can, because I care about you and you are valued and you belong here.
Thank you for spending time with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So next we're going to go into the lightning round.
Okay,
This will be a big change of pace.
Yeah, we're changing pace here. So everybody get your tissues and, try your little tears here, and we're going to move on to a really quick session before we send Tyson off, okay? Okay, so shake it off. You ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, this is our fun round, okay?
Okay.
Okay, you have how many seconds, hon?
60 seconds.
Okay, you've got 60 seconds. We're going to ask you the questions. You got to say the first thing that comes to your mind in the most honest, fasty way possible.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready? Should we alternate?
Yeah, go ahead and start
Okay.
us.
Okay, ready? And, okay, left-handed, right-handed, or ambidextrous?
Right-handed.
Favorite dessert?
Banana cream pie.
What's your nickname?
Tyson Price.
Place you want to travel?
Harry Potter World.
How do you like your steak?
Medium well.
Exotic animal you'd keep as a pet?
Tiger.
Can you keep a plant alive?
Yes.
Spider. Kill it, let it live, have someone else kill it.
Probably scream and have somebody else kill it.
If I gave you a pogo stick right now, how many times could you jump in a row?
Probably 3,242.
Weapon of choice?
Love.
Let's hug. Okay, I kind of completely love you.
All right, well, Tyson, we have one more question for you. We want to end this interview with asking you the question, who or what inspires you?
People who stand up for the underdog in whatever circumstance they're in. J.K. Rowling, I see her all the time standing up for people on even just social media or doing little things, but there are people in my life that inspire me, but especially my students who inspire me to do better and to push harder every day.
And that's that. I'm inspired. Thank you, Tyson Price. If you have feedback on this episode, a question or topic you'd like us to discuss, or a recommendation for an everyday expert you'd like us to interview, you can visit us at our home on the web, dobetterpodcast.com, or drop us a line at thedobetterpodcast@gmail.com. Music in this episode provided by The Willing and Jazar. Links to their music are on our website. Until next time, this has been You Could Do Better with Annie and Shelby.